So I just recently gave a talk at one of the co-working spaces here in Bali about forgetting goals. So it's going to be completely opposite of most of the things that you've heard about sticking to your goals and being really like strategic. It's going to totally blow that out of the water. So take a listen. Just a pre-warning, there is language, adult language in this presentation. So if that's not your jam or you've got little ones around, go ahead and grab your headphones.
To talk about fuck up. So yeah, I hope that you guys are ready for today's Skillshare. So can we have an applause everyone for Taryn?
Yay! Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Good? You got hyped about some controversy today? I'm excited to kind of bust down these like entrepreneurial myths that you've got to be obsessed with goals. But before we do so, I figured you guys would want to know like why listen to me, a girl who matches stripes with plaid. I wouldn't trust me either, but I'm a coach and a yoga teacher and a longtime entrepreneur. I've been hustling for cash since I was probably 10 years old, just always had some kind of side hustle happening. The founder of The Remote Yogi, which is an online platform that utilizes yoga and other methodologies to help women really embody more badass confidence and all that stuff, and have a podcast called Embracing Human, which is about embracing human and being okay with the fuck-ups and all the different parts of being who we are. So it's a little bit about me, but most importantly, I've been, like I said, doing this whole hustle thing since I was young, and I've also gotten into a lot of workaholism because of it. Anyone else a workaholic or has been there at some point? That's my thing, recovering workaholic, because what happens is we feel like we have to grind and grind and grind all day long because we read a bunch of BS quotes that we're going to get to in a minute. So what we're talking about today, why goal obsession sucks. Talking about goals, talking about timelines for a minute, and talking about to-do lists, because I'm obsessed with to-do lists, but they're also not very effective unless we do them properly. So we're going to talk about it. Oh, God. So uncomfortable. Okay, who has seen a bunch of stupid stuff like this on Pinterest? Crush your goals, you got this. I like this one. Set goals, because it's pink and cute. Set goals, stay quiet about them, smash the shit out of them, clap for your damn self, repeat. Right? We're being fed these things all the time. Arriving at one goal as a starting point to another. Workaholism. Never, ever celebrating and just continuing to push the envelope, push the envelope, push the envelope, which is cool until we're burned out and stressed and not even enjoying what we set out to do with our lives, right? How many of us in here are entrepreneurs? Okay. Kind of. You guys are this side hustling? Okay, that's an entrepreneur. Come on. Or how many of you are just doing a lot of freelance work as well, which kind of is the same thing as being an entrepreneur. Okay, cool. So you're constantly being told to keep going, add more work, add more work, add more work, but then you're just wait, why? I thought I had this freedom lifestyle and I spend all day in Hubud instead of enjoying Bali. Anyone else? Yeah. Because you get obsessed with goals. So what's wrong with goals? I could give a list, but we'll just go through a few of these. Nothing's wrong with goals themselves, right? Goals are great. Goals are gonna give you direction in life. Goals are really what pushes you to be better. But the problem is we're setting goals that we don't really feel deep down. They don't connect with us. We're just bullshit goals, right? Who set a goal just because it sounds good? I want to have a 100K year because that's what all the other entrepreneurs are talking about. And how many of you were I'm going to make $1 million by the time I'm 30 because someone said it on TV at some point and it sounded cool? Right? We all come up with these bullshit goals. So that's one of the things. If you're setting goals for the sake of setting goals and they don't actually resonate with anything you're working on, we got to cut that shit out. Sorry, there's going to be cussing. I should have warned everyone from the beginning. And if the steps to accomplish that goal, even if you're like, yeah, I really want to make sure my business is at $1 million by the end of this year, but you're like not sleeping and breathing to make it happen, like, is that worth it? Is that fun? Like, no, if the steps to get to the end result aren't worth it, why is that your goal? And then, are your goals even serving you? So do they align with who you are as an individual, what you set out to do? A lot of us entrepreneurs, side hustlers, we're doing things because we're passionate about them. But we lose the passion in the hustle and this, gotta get the goals, mindset that ends up happening in this entrepreneurial space. So just take a second to ponder some of the goals you've had lately. So maybe you guys do like yearly goals or just some of the things that you wanted to put work on. It doesn't have to be business. It can totally be like lifestyle, owning a house, whatever. But think about some goals. And now question where you got that idea that that should be your goal. Like, where did you get the idea that you should have 10K months 2 years into your business? Or where did you get this idea that, you should be owning a house by the time you're 30? Whatever your goals are, where did you get that idea from? Is it actually something that resonates with you, right? For some of you it is. Good. That means you've done some deep soul work before you just started listing out goals. I felt like that was true for most of my goals, and then I dug deeper and realized, actually some of them are still being ingrained on me by what's being done in my industry, right? I'm in the yoga space, the coaching space, so I'm like, so by what point do I need to have a book sold? By what point do I need to be public speaking around the world? Like, these are goals that I'm like, do these really resonate with me, or is it because I'm trying to follow the mold of what's happening in my industry, right? The bigger thing is understanding your values. So how many of you know your core values? Have done the work to figure out your core values? Some heads nodding. Okay, cool. Some of you are looking at me like I'm crazy. So when I work with people who don't really understand direction in their life or don't really know what they want, how many of you have ever been like stuck and been like, I don't even know what I want with my life anymore? Yeah, a lot of people. And part of it is because we haven't really dug in and figured out what our values are, what our beliefs are, what drives us, right? Motivation's bullshit. What drives you? That's what's important. And we have to dig deeper to figure out what that is. So these core values are things that are buried deep within you. Mine are things like growth, freedom, here I am in Bali, love, service, things like that. These are really important to me. So when we're setting goals, I've got to make sure that my goals fit my values. Because if my goals aren't aligned with my values and they're just goals for the sake of business being profitable or whatever, I'm not going to push towards them because they don't resonate with who I am as an individual. And if you want to learn more about values, we can hang out after and get some dinner or something. I can break that down for you. But do your goals fit? Do your goals fit in with who you are, what aligns with you versus what just sounds good or is working well for your business, for your freelance, for your life, right? I was the queen of setting goals. I had the goal to graduate high school a year early, did that, crushed it. Graduated college, bought a house, got married all by 21. I was like checking things off my list, and then got there and realized I didn't want any of that, actually. I was just going through what I thought I should be doing with my life, and then was like, oh, fuck, I never really thought about who I am, what I want. And so we see this happen a lot with entrepreneurs as well, who start a business because it's the trendy thing right now or because it sounds good to start a business, but they don't really have an idea of what actually serves them. And so they drain at one point because when you're no longer in line with your values, you're not going to be able to crush the goals anyway, right? But also, does the journey to accomplishing those goals fit the lifestyle? So that's the other thing that we hear about a lot in digital nomad space is like, hustle till you die, kind of. That's dramatic, but that's kind of the talk. It's like you get these like generic like picture of like Wolf on Wall Street kind of thing with some stupid quote about how you gotta like hustle hard and play hard, or like it's just stupid. I like can't. But the thing is, we set out with these goals and then we're like, okay, my goal is to make 100K by the end of this year. Cool. What do I got to do to make that happen? And it's like we're so focused on the goals that we're like writing down all these to-do lists that sound freaking awful. And we're like, just got to crush it. Just got to get through it. Who cares? Because that's my goal. But it does matter. If you set a goal that's 5 years out and all the steps to get there over the next 5 years are terrible, like who's going to enjoy their life? Like we've got to stop looking at like the future as what we want, right? we've got to look at what is serving us right now. So if you can look at a goal and be like, the journey to get there is going to be really fulfilling and it lights me up, I'm excited to do the things to get there, awesome. Keep that goal on your list. But if you're like, I'm doing this goal for the sake of what sounds good and I'm going to kill myself to get there, y'all, I work with people who are at burnout all the time. It's not worth it. Like hospitalized burnout from overworking. Not worth it. And then also, what's your why? So like, I don't need to be Simon Sinek up here. You guys understand the why. You guys are all like, yeah, okay, we get it. So if you don't know the why behind your goals, you're not going to find the motivation to do them. And so you might as well not even have them written down. So you've got to be able to look at your goals, be like, do I like the steps to get there? Sweet. Do I have a solid reason for why I'm doing this? Sweet. Keep them. I'm not saying get rid of your goals completely, but forget all the other bullshit. Yeah? Just kidding. I am going to tell you to forget about your goals. So the thing is, the goals are not the point. The goals are the direction. We have a lot of people get really caught up in this because we've got people out there who are like, set the goal, keep crushing at the goal, like doesn't matter what happens in between there. And I think that that's kind of crap. So they're really great for motivation, right? You set the goal. It gives you the direction that you're heading in. Same thing as values, same thing as working with people on their drivers. We're trying to figure out like, okay, what direction do I go in today, right? So we're not just like out here like doing all the things that you think you should be doing for your business. We have no direction. We need direction. So that's cool. Get the direction. But then know that the goal doesn't matter at all. Like we get so caught up, and especially Western society, I don't know where a lot of you guys are from, we get caught up in like crushing the goal or you failed. Right? Like when you have year-end reports, if anyone's worked in the corporate business, you guys sit down around the table and you're like, who made their goals this year? You didn't. You suck. Like, you don't suck. You're awesome. You're beautiful. I love you. But, you know, that's the attitude, right? If you don't make your goals, you're terrible. We don't talk about the things that happened in between start point and end point. What things have changed? What growth has come? What else has been fulfilled between the starting point and the goal? That's what matters, right? That in-between space. The goals, who cares? The other thing is you got to allow for change. So again, we have this attitude of like, once you set the goal, stay at the goal, just change the plan, right? That's like some dumb quote I put up here earlier, like, keep the goal, change the plan. No, change the plan or change the goal if it doesn't fit you anymore. Like if you're heading in this direction and you're like, oh, that's not for me anymore, do you have to keep going because you set this goal? No, that's crap. Like you're not failing at life, you're not failing yourself because you're like, oh, actually, this goal is not for me anymore. Oh, I've changed. Oh, my direction's gone in a different way, right? So I've got an example from some of my clients I work with. One of my clients had this big goal to hike Mount Everest, and she was like trying to get in shape, and she was doing all these things, and she was going on hiking trips, and was like breaking off toenails, and was just like out there crushing it, right? But she realized that she actually didn't really like summiting that much. Like she realized like, oh, I actually don't really care. But she was like, I feel like I still have to go after this goal because I said I would do it and I told all my friends I would do it, so I better like keep at it. And she was chatting with a friend who was going to hike Patagonia the same weekend that she was supposed to do Mount Everest next year. And got a call from the Mount Everest team that was like, hey, something happened with this weekend and we have to cancel your Mount Everest trip, right? So she switched to the Patagonia trip. Did she fail her goal? No, she changed it to something that served her at that time. But we have this idea that if we change the goal that we failed because something, life circumstance, business directions changed. So that's why I say forget the goals. Set them and then let them go, right? Like don't hold attachment to them. It just creates all this added pressure and stress. Cool? So that's all on goals so far. We're diving into timelines and to-do lists. So anyone have questions on goals? Huh? Be clear.
Claro.
You're back there like fear. I'm scared. What's happening? Stop yelling at me to crush my goals. Cool. This is a more accurate quote from Bruce Lee. A goal is not always meant to be reached. It often serves simply as something to aim at. And so this is the attitude that I want you guys to adopt. It allows a lot less pressure, right? So why are timelines awful? Because they're just unnecessary. So we do this thing where we're like, set the goal, get a timeline, make a plan, or it's not even worth it, right? Like, gotta have the timeline. But here's the thing with timelines. We're really terrible at them. Like, who's really good at estimating how much they can accomplish in an afternoon? Some of you are. That's great. Good job. I am terrible. I'll be like, oh, this one task is going to take me all afternoon. I get it done in like 10 minutes, and I'm like, what the heck? Other days, I'm like, I can get all these tasks done, and I get one done, and I'm like, what is happening? We do this with our goals too, right? So we create these timelines that are like, yeah, I should be able to like get to so many followers on Instagram by this amount of time, or I suck, or I don't know, whatever. But the thing is, we don't often look at the long term and then break it down, right? We're like, okay, I want to get here with my business in the next 6 months. Here's where I want to be. And we set this timeline goal. But it's so condensed. We're not very good at small timelines as humans. We just don't do well with it. But when we can extend them out, when we're like, okay, here's a 10-year grasp at what I want to be doing with my life, then what fills in between there? What do I need to be doing in between there to get there? Instead of being like, I've got these like 2-week goals, and it's a lot, and it's really overwhelming. Also, anxiety is really high, so a lot of the work I do is with anxiety. Time anxiety is one of the most common. So we're always like feeling like we don't have any time. We're always pressed for time. A lot of us at this age, I'm looking around the room, most of you are like 20s, 30s range. A lot of us feel like we're behind in life. Like we haven't accomplished enough. You guys are like, yeah, awkward, that's me. But a lot of us feel that way, like, oh, everyone's passing me by, I haven't accomplished very much. And it's this time anxiety that there's this like made up timeline that we're supposed to be filling out, and it's bullshit. Like the timeline doesn't exist. The business timelines you create don't exist. It's all made up in your head, but then you like fight to the nail to make them happen, and it's just not healthy. So I'm all about like setting goals and setting reasonable timelines, but don't, again, let them go at some point. You don't need to like kill yourself to make it happen. But the other thing is to reflect back. So I want you guys to take a second. Those of you have like, most of you guys look like you're in your 20s, 30s. Think back like maybe 5, at most 10 years back, what your goals were for you at that age. And then think about where you're at now. Probably have crushed them, surpassed them, or gone in a totally different direction that you never would have dreamed of, right? You guys are living in Bali, come on. So that's what happens when I start to stress out about the timeline or like where I'm at with my adulting timeline. Like I just remember that like me 5 years ago would have been like unimaginable that I could have launched a business, have the reach that I have around the world that I have right now. Like I was just like, I just want to be able to pay my bills and pay off my student loans. Like, you know, totally unimaginative. All right, got some statistics for you guys. 82% of successful entrepreneurs write in their journal every day. I love journaling. And 67% of people who spend 20 or so minutes on Instagram comments see consistent growth in their accounts. Who wants to like up their Instagram growth? Sweet. I'm a liar. These are all made up statistics. But how many of you, for just a second, were like, I should like journal more often, or I should like get on Instagram? How many of you had that mini thought of like, I should do one of those things? A little, yeah. Okay, this is what happens. You guys were like, goals don't affect me by other people. It just happened for like 2 seconds. Yeah. So we start to create these should lists of all the things we should be doing based on what everyone else is out here doing, right? Nothing to do with you, nothing to do with yourself. So a lot of us are running our businesses and our lives based on made up shoulds. And you guys are like side hustling, like possibly getting into a business. Know this now. Everyone's going to be like, you've got to be on Instagram. You've got to be on Facebook ads. You've got to be like hustling on Amazon FBA. Like, just calm down. You don't need to be doing everything. But we have this idea that we should be because everyone else is out here talking about all the things that they're doing. Probably lying about all the things that they're doing because no one can accomplish that much in one day. Like, just saying. But yeah, so the shoulds are like going to hold you back. And we build our to-do lists off of everyone else's shoulds before we can even pause and be like, what actually do I need to do today, right? How many of you have like sat down with a basic idea of what you wanted to get done that day, and then you checked email and your plans for the day got derailed by somebody else's plans for you to get done that day? Yeah? See, it derails us, all these shoulds. So I've actually got like a whole video on this on my blog that I can reach out to you guys with. It'll kind of walk you through building a shoulds list and then like shredding the shit out of it because it's really fun. But yeah, let's crack down on to-do lists. I'm obsessed. I'm a bullet journaler, and I'm like old school and have to carry a planner. Anyone else still with me on that? You carry a planner?
Yeah, well.
Okay, I love it. But yeah, still obsessed with to-do lists, right? There's still tons of them on here. So I'm not saying like don't do them at all, but like cut back. Like we just talked about with goals. Let's be reasonable. Let's not freak ourselves out. When we have this never-ending to-do list that's just like an ongoing, like, I'm just going to keep adding to this and keep crossing it off, it, like, isn't effective. It just feels overwhelming. You look at that every day and you're like, I can't even get started because there's too many options. There's too many things to do, and it's stressful. So part of that is also a dopamine hit, like you get when somebody likes your Instagram or when somebody, like, you know, gives you a hug, you get a little dopamine. It feels good. But you do that when you check things off your to-do list. So a lot of us are writing things down on our to-do list for the sake of like checking it off and getting that little like, I accomplished something. I'm actually really bad about this, you guys. I'm getting better. But I would literally be like halfway through a task that wasn't on my to-do list, and then I'd write it down on my to-do list so I could check it off when I finished it. Like, ridiculous. But this is what we do because it feels good. You get like a little high. So we got to make sure that we're not doing to-do lists just for the high and being like, yay, I did something today. One of the ways I've done this is I follow one of my coaches and mentors, Gabby Bernstein. She talks about how she only allows herself 3 to 5 things to do a day. That's it. And for me, who tends to be overly anxious, I actually write mine out the night before, because if I have to sit down that morning and think about the things I'm going to do that day, I'm actually wasting decision-making muscle first thing in the morning, and that's not helpful. So as often as I can, I'll actually write down my to-do list the night before or at the end of that day when I'm like, okay, I've finished up what I needed to do today, what needs to be moved to tomorrow because I didn't get to it, no big deal, right? And then what needs to be added. And by only allowing 3 to 5 things, here's what happens. We get through those 3 to 5 things sometimes really fast. And we're like, cool, let me pull out my to-do list and get some more things done. Totally okay, like let's do it, let's crush it. But other days, we get through those 3 to 5 things and we're like, it's noon and I crushed it and I'm going to go like get a massage and take the rest of the day off. And that's okay too, right? Like if you set out to get things done, be cool with that and don't feel like you constantly have to be adding to the to-do list. You're just going to burn out. So see how you feel when you cross things off and then add if you'd like to. But these are some big things that I do now when I build a to-do list. And so this will kind of vary based on whether you have teams, whether you have people that you're working with, all these things. But number one, does this need to be done now? Because oftentimes we have an idea of like what's important versus what's a priority. And priorities need to come first, right? Versus like, oh, this is important because somebody emailed me and they think that they're more important than like my actual priority task right now, right? So does this need to be done right now? Probably doesn't need to be on your daily list. If not, right? Check it off. Does this need to be done by me? If you have a team and it doesn't need to be done by you, or you have a VA and you're just like holding on to tasks for the sake of holding on to tasks, let them go. But this also is talking about your personal life, y'all. Like how many of us are like, I gotta do everything and I can't ask my roommate to help and I can't ask my partners. Like I don't know how many of you are in relationships, but I do this thing where I'm like, I gotta get all the groceries and I gotta do this and I gotta clean this. And I'm like, I've got another human here that I could reach over and be like, can you please clean the kitchen? I don't know, you know. So does this need to be done by me? Sometimes no, sometimes yes. I run my own business. A lot needs to be done by me, yeah? And does this actually need to be done? Final question. Again, we come back to those shoulds. We come back to the like, is me doing this one thing on my to-do list every week actually doing anything for my business? Am I just doing it because I feel like I should do it and it has actually no impact? Take it off. Stop doing things for the sake of doing things, especially if they're not serving you, they're not in line with your values, they're not in line with your goals. Cool? Any questions on to-do lists? Cool. I like this quote by Paul Hawken, and I left one quote on and not the other one. That's nice. Always leave enough time in your life to do something that makes you happy, satisfied, even joyous, that has more of an effect on your economic well-being than any other factor. So when I say take the afternoon off when you get through your to-do list, I mean it. Because what happens is when we allow time for fun, when we allow time for relaxation, massage, you actually allow the time for creative things to happen. How many times have you been like sitting at your desk and you're like, I've got to write this email or write this blog post or just do something creative, and you're like, for the love of God, I can't pull this out of my brain. And then you're in like a yoga class and you're like, oh, I just wrote that whole email in my brain standing in this warrior two. That was great. Yeah, we got to take time off. We got to step away from the computer. So if you have like crazy goals that have you crushing it to midnight, like you're not going to make them because you're not allowing yourself time to actually breathe and reflect and allow the creativity to actually be like downloaded instead of like forced out of you, because that doesn't work. And that's not how you get to flow state, by like forcing it. That's it for the most part, unless you guys have questions. But yeah, you can find me theremoteyogi.blog, Embracing Human podcast on pretty much any podcast source and online, except you can find me on Twitter, but I probably will not respond to you because I hate it. It's one of those tasks that I delegated to a VA. I was like, run with this. I do not ever want to look at it ever again. So, any questions about anything? Any like situations that you guys are dealing with that you were hoping that like some knowledge would come out today? Thank you so much for tuning in. If some of my talk about figuring out your values, figuring out your core beliefs, knowing a little bit more about who you are and the direction you want to take your life in, check out my toolkit for self-discovery. It's an online toolkit that's kind of like a course. So you've got lots of lessons to walk you through some of the one-on-one coaching practices that I do with my clients, but then you also get tools like yoga videos and breathing exercises and meditations to help give you guys some added tools that you can come back to over and over and over again, rather than just a course that you tune into once. So there's information about that wherever in some of the links, or head over to theremoteyogi.blog and look under courses. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys later.